How's it going, folks? So today I'm going to be talking about the new upcoming DeVicious album called Code Red. This bad boy comes out this Friday, May 26th. But y'all know it by now. Before I get into that nitty gritty, let's check out the cover. So boom, there it is. Take a look at that. It's very much in DeVicious fashion. If you're familiar with the band, this cover will not come as a surprise. Like I said, is very, very much in their style. You got this lady standing there. She's got this gun kind of to the side. I kind of like that. It's not front and center, kind of to the side. Very spy, espionage, secret agent kind of vibe going on there with the band name up there, DeVicious, and at the very bottom, Code Red. It's cool. It's a cool looking cover. It definitely is intriguing. It makes you want to know what's going on here. So if you're at the CD shop, flipping through the covers, you'll see this and be like, oh, this is kind of interesting. There's a bit of intrigue uh, in there with this cover. So I like the cover. I really do. I think it draws you in. It makes you wonder, what's this all about? It's capturing. Now, from the perspective of, if you've never heard of this band before, you see the cover, you bring it home and you play it. Does the cover properly convey the style of music in the album? I think it does. I think if you just see this cover, you've never heard of the band before, you don't know what their style is or anything, you see this cover, it immediately screams hard rock or melodic rock, something in that vein. I really don't think you would think otherwise. So cool cover, definitely makes you wonder, makes you curious, and it also conveys properly, I think, the style of music. You would not think anything other than melodic rock or some kind of hard rock or something in that vein. So, yeah, I dig it. But for the album itself, this bad boy has 11 tracks on there, comes in at about 54 minutes or so, and yeah, every song, I always harp on this, but there's really no bloat. There's no filler. Every song belongs. It really feels like a cohesive piece, and at no point in the album did fatigue really set in for me. It really had a good pace, had a good flow, and like I said, at no point was I like, all right, let's move things along or whatever. It's a solid amount of time and a solid amount of songs, and it all fits. It all fits. So that's really important for me. Now, what you're gonna get here is truly melodic rock. One thing I really enjoyed about it is the synergy between the guitars and the keyboards. The two really work in tandem to create nice melodies, a nice sound, and really, really bring to life that 80s kind of melodic rock sound. And more often than not, there's a good pep to it. There's fun to be had. Yes, there's some slower songs and whatnot, but between the guitars and the keyboards, specifically talking music wise, instrument wise, they really bring things to life. They really keep things feeling energized. They really keep a certain flavor going, a certain spark, and it really drives the album and the sound in general. So a lot of great guitar riffs in here, some really great guitar melodies, some solos and whatnot. And same with the keyboard. The keyboard really, there's some great tones, some great melodies, and it all just creates this energy, almost this pulsing driving factor throughout all of the songs, and it works really, really, really well together. So yeah, the guitar work, the keyboard work, really stellar, and the way the two are very much intertwined, it just it works. It works very, very well. Everything else is solid as also. The drum work does a really great job with the drums, the bass. Sometimes you can hear it really, really popping more than others, but there's a nice sound to it. And for the most part, the production in the mix is solid. You can hear every instrument individually, but they also combine together to create the sounds that power each song. And the production quality is solid. For the most part, songs sound full. Again, there's an energy to them. There's a richness to the sound. It, it dips a little bit at times, but more often than not, it works well, and it suits the songwriting and the songs very, very well. The times that it dips a little bit, it can harm the songs. It can harm the vibe a smidge. But again, it's few and far between. More often than not, the production and the mix works in the song's favor. So, that is always very, very important. But I will note at times it dips a smidge, and it creates a void almost between the music, the song, and it leaves an emptiness. It leaves something, it feels like there's a background that is almost non-existent. Like there's a background of nothing. And so you're hearing what's on the surface, but there's no richness. There's no fullness to the sound. However, like I said, it's few and far between, and for the most part, the mix and the production works in the song's favor, and you can hear the depth, you can hear the layers, and you can hear the pop. So, pretty solid for the most part on that front. And musician-wise, instrument-wise, it really, really solid songwriting. There's great hooks all throughout, great melodies, and it feels like everything was done with the intention to create a atmosphere or a sound that is infectious, engaging, and that is what I was really, really drawn to. And I was looking very much forward to this album. And I wasn't quite sure what to expect because their last album felt a little bit more experimental. I really liked it, but this album, there's more focus to it, and I'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. But I also want to address the vocals. There's a new vocalist, it's not the same vocalist as the previous album, and I loved the previous vocalist, so I was a bit trepidatious. I was like, all right, there's a new vocalist, does a solid job, really solid job. He's got a really great range, really solid delivery. He can really carry those vocal melodies. He can really carry the energy and the drive of the songs. And like I said, he's got a great range, and I was quite impressed, quite pleased with his vocal contributions to this album. He suits the sound very, very well, and he does it. He does an amazing job. So again, I'll kind of touch on the vocals a little bit more as well, but yeah, he does a very, very solid job. And like I said, I was unsure, but no, he convinced me. He belongs, and he suits DeVicious and their sound very well. But to talk about the direction of this album, like I said, I enjoyed their previous album quite a bit, but it did feel a little bit more experimental. Some songs were more of a hit or miss than others. But this album, it has a little bit more of a focus to it. It feels more like the band is in their zone. It feels more like they're doing now what they're comfortable with and what they want to do. And that really carries a lot of weight for the sound and the direction of the songwriting and the engagement of the listener. So I was quite impressed with that, and I like their direction. I like the direction that this album has. I like their focus because, again, it is more focused and it feels like they're in their comfort level, and it shines, it shows. When I say that, yes, there is still a little bit of room for growth, but this is definitely a step in the right direction because it feels more comfortable. It feels more like the band is doing what they want to do, and that goes a long way. And you can hear it as the listener. You can really, really hear it. And a little bit of fine tuning will elevate it to an even higher level, but that will come with time. And so I like the direction that they've taken here. This is kind of, to me, as a listener, it feels like they're letting everybody know this is us. This is what we want to do. This is DeVicious. And so now that they have established that groundwork, that foundation, that statement, they can build on it and just get better and better. So yes, there's some room for growth. There's some room to build upon what they have now set as the foundation. And I look very, very much forward to that because what they've done here is very impressive and it's infectious, like I said, and it's engaging and it's solid. It's very, very solid. So I look forward to the continued growth of the band, and I like now that they have found where they belong, what they want to do, and so they can just only build upon that going forward. So it's very, very exciting. Starts out with "Are You Ready for Love," which is, it starts off on the softer side, the not as like in your face side, but it's such a good song. Really grew on me. I love the melody. I love the groove. It's a great way to start the album and kind of ease the listener into things. And then track two, "Highway to the Stars," really brings that pop. There's a brass section, and it just brings the energy to it, and you're kind of off to the races from there. Another one of my favorites is track five, "No More Tears." A little bit more of a ballad style, but great melody, very contagious, very catchy. All of the songs here, they have great hooks, a lot of catchiness in the musical and vocal melody that you can just really get attached to. Track six, after track five, "No More Tears," track six, "Raise Your Life," again kind of brings that pop, that pep in the step, a nice groove factor. I love the guitar riffs, the guitar melody in the song really kind of brings the energy back, and it just really continues from there. And I love track 10, "Walk from the Shadows," and this is one thing I'll say also about the vocalist is the album starts out with track one, "Are You Ready for Love?" There's a bit in the very beginning, a bit of almost a power metal kind of scream or wail, and I dig it. It just it pulls you in, it sucks you in. And then track 10, "Walk from the Shadows," that one also really has kind of a power metal scream, a power metal wail to it, a energy, a power to it vocally. And again, it's a really great way to kind of bring things full circle and a great way to end the album. And I love that song as well, "Walk from the Shadows." Like I said, great way to end the album. Great melody, very catchy, and it's infectious. And then track 11 you get is kind of a bonus. It's actually a bonus track, "Penthouse Floor 2023." So it's another kind of just fun bonus. It's a fun song, and again, it's engaging. And all of these songs, that's one thing I can really say about this album, is it's very engaging. You feel connected to it. You feel infected by it, and you can't help but tap your foot or sing along, whether out loud or in your head, or just really enjoy the melody. A big focus was put on the hooks and the catchiness of the music and the vocal melody, and it pays off. It doesn't feel forced. It feels very natural, and you're able to just really enjoy it. The only song, and anyone who watches my channel already knows this, track 3, Madhouse, not my favorite. Still not my favorite. And I did a reaction to that song, and I was not thrilled by that song. And I'm still not, to be honest. But other than that song, the whole album, I really enjoyed it. Honestly, a little bit more than I expected to, maybe because Madhouse kind of dampened my expectations, even though Highway to the Stars bolstered those expectations. And if I'm not mistaken, Are You Ready for Love was also released as a single, also a very solid song, bolstered my expectations. But again, Madhouse, I don't know what it is. It just feels, it's a little too repetitive. It's a little too one note, in my opinion. There's really no dynamic in the song. And anywho, not to focus on that song, but that's the outlier for me personally. But yeah, the rest of the album, a lot of nice dynamics, a lot of nice hooks, very catchy, very fun. Even the slower songs, the more ballad type songs, have a there's an energy in it, even though it's slower, and it's infectious. I listened to this album multiple times. I kept kind of hitting repeat when the album ended, listened to it all the way through again, and I really, really enjoyed it. And just to end, my general overall thoughts: very focused, very catchy, very hooky, very infectious album in the melodic rock genre. It's a lot of fun. And again, like I said, much more focused than the previous effort. And it sounds like the band is doing what they want to do here. It feels more natural. It doesn't feel as experimental. And that goes a long way for the listener, because you can hear those kind of things. And so, yes, it's not perfect, but it's a very solid foundation, and it's a very enjoyable melodic rock outing. One that I very much enjoyed, one of the better melodic rock albums I've heard so far this year, as far as fun factor and memorability. And it really excites me, because the future from this point forward will just be the band building upon this new foundation, and that's exciting because it will just get better and better from here. So I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it for any melodic rock fan. There's a lot of nice variety, a lot of nice dynamics, and there's a lot to enjoy here for everybody. Now, when y'all ask what's a song that you recommend I listen to, if to determine if I want to hear the whole album or not, it's a little tough, but I would say go with either track 1, Are You Ready for Love, which, if I'm not mistaken, was released as a single. Go with that one. Or go with track 6, Raise Your Life. Between the two of those, I think you'll get a good understanding of what the whole album will contain. Both of those songs really showcase what you'll hear throughout the whole album, and I think those songs represent the album very, very well. So if you listen to those songs and you dig it, you like what you hear, listen to the whole album. You won't be disappointed, and I love this new direction. I'm very, very excited for the future of DeVicious. This is a solid outing. I enjoyed it very much, and like I said, I enjoyed their previous effort, but this album feels more consistent all the way through. The previous one, it had much higher ups and downs. Songs I loved, and then songs I didn't care for so much, and then songs I loved, and so on and so forth. But this album, much more consistent, much more focused, and I enjoyed it very, very much. So I do recommend it for all you melodic rock fans out there. It's a solid effort, a solid outing, one of the better melodic rock albums I've heard this year. And all I can say is the future is bright for DeVicious. But let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the singles released for this album. What do you think of DeVicious, their previous albums released? And once this album drops and you've listened to it, come back and let me know what you thought of the album. I would love to talk about it and hear your thoughts. But thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you all next time. Ranger out.